Hey guys, we got a pretty cool build today. We're gonna do a battery relocation inside the cab, and we're gonna mount it right in here. For my materials, I got a tailor-made battery box with all the hardware. Picked up some welding wire as well. We got assortments of 2.0 and 1.0. Harbor Freight picked up some grommets so we can run the wire without it getting cut up and stuff. Also got some protective wire wraps, and to tie it all together we use some 1/2-inch copper pipe to make our terminals. Back inside the truck now, we got the lid here for the battery box. Just doing a quick test fit. Everything seems to work nicely. The instructions do call for you to run two all-thread bolts through whatever you're attaching it to. That way the lid can be secured and all that stuff. We do have 2 bolts at the bottom, so I'm not really sure just yet how about I'm gonna go ahead putting this in here. But first things first, we got to figure out what kind of fitment we're looking at, and tell you right now, this battery box will not fit in here because of the plastic, so we are gonna have to go ahead and cut some plastic away. But aside from that, making this box fit should be relatively simple. So this is where we're at, where it's trimmed. Inside the cab though, it's like elevated just a tad, so I'm assuming the box will look something like this. We might have to trim off a little more, we might not have to with the lid. Just depends how this looks. I'm gonna go ahead and do a test fit. Not too bad for the first cut. Looks like this was just about the right size on this end. I don't like how tight it is over here though, but that's an easy fix. We're gonna keep this thickness here, but we're just gonna like lose this much. Basically, we'll try to keep this face as much as possible just for now until we decide how this is actually ever gonna look. And but yeah, we'll go ahead and trim this out. The only way to do this right now is to get the battery box, this battery box out, is to pull this plastic out. So I'm not really sure if I'm gonna, just yet, I'm not 100% positive I'm gonna pull this box forward more than I originally thought, because I gotta also be able to put a battery in there, right? Like at an angle. So I'm gonna keep tinkering with it off camera and let you know what I end up doing. So this is the second round of cuts. We cut this down here. I'm really happy with the way that looked. Just moving the box forward helped a lot, and also gave this area clearance. Not much, but still kind of keeps that OEM look, which is what we're hunting anyways. On this side of the world though, the plastic is still not, it's still too low for me. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I marked a line here, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. Just make it to this line, and do it all the way around again. For the bottom, what we're looking at now is trimming up this carpet. Looking at this, man, we might have to lose those 2 bolts. I'm still thinking about it. I wonder if there's a way to just pull them out from the bottom. If there is, I'll do that. If not, I have to get the cut saw in here, get them out. Getting closer and closer. So this is with everything trimmed. You noticed, I don't know if I'll pick it up on camera, it is higher on that side. That's because I haven't cut out the carpet just yet, so that's the next piece. But right now I'm kind of getting it where I want to, so I can go ahead and draw the holes on the inside to where I'm gonna end up using the all thread. Hopefully it works out. I'm not really sure how the frame's gonna play into this because it's kind of in a weird spot, but every problem has a solution, right? Alright fellas, I just wanted to give you a quick update. So I started finessing on how I'm gonna run the bolts through and stuff, like I said before. And you can't see it that well, but here's the hole I made. Originally, here's where I'm putting the battery box, the lid. But I was just in my head thinking like, basically the thought was this. I didn't put it here because it would put me in like a weird corner here. So just by pulling it like, you know, a 1/4 inch this way, the hole kind of lines up in this area right here, which is perfect. But here's the problem I'm falling into now. I made my hole with this all with a 3/8 inch drill bit, and I go to drop it and I can't go through because I'm assuming that most of this is hollow, and then on the underside I believe there's a body mount, which just really sucks because if you're looking at it from here, it doesn't even appear like the battery box would even be happy with that bolt there, if that makes any sense. But I could just show you. So there's that guy. Basically, this bolt needs to go up here to secure the lid in place, but it won't even do that. So I think what I have to do, what I am going to end up doing, is I think I'm going to take this, sharpen it to a point, heat treat it with a torch to make a pinhole exactly where I need to drill, and then I'll go from the underside and make the hole wide enough to accept one of the nuts that it requires. That way I can thread it on however I need to do it. Maybe weld it, I don't know if I have to, and then pull it up through the, push it up through the hole, and then I can run the second nut which secures it to wherever it's going to be at, and then from there you just kind of go on. So this is going to take a little more time than I thought it would, but that's the current update. You guys want to hear something funny? That idea didn't work. But that's okay, because here we fix problems. So what I decided to do is take my step drill bit, made the hole big enough for the nut to fit over it, which is the hole right there. As you probably guessed from my welding helmet, we're going to weld it into place, because why not? That's what we do here, right? There we have it, folks. Nice and working, painted, and it threads right in. So that's awesome. And in case anyone was wondering, that was a wet t-shirt. I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. So now that that's in there, we can go ahead and figure out where our second hole is going to be at. Alright, here's the mock-up of the final bit here. You'll have a completely enclosed box. The holes, I don't know if you remember, right there, and there's 2 of them, or 3 of them, whatever it is. They're on the back. That's where we're going to run our ventilation. But here I'm just test fitting that it all fits nice and pretty. I don't know if I'm gonna take off this protective coating just yet. Might wait until I get these bolts down to snuff, where, you know, there's only a little bit sticking up. I marked how much I want it sticking up right there. But I'll probably do that. For the bottom down here, I know it's kind of cheesy, but it's one of those things no one will ever see, and it supports the box. It's just a 4x4 that I cut for it to be 3 inches. I mean, it'll be covered by plastic anyways. So I might screw into this. Once again, it's a little cheesy, don't care. So for those who watch my videos, they know my battery usually sits back here where the AC used to be. And I've already gone ahead and removed it, disconnected it. On my negative side, I have 3 cables, 1 going to the engine block and 2 to the frame for some reason. I don't know if I did that or that was done before, not really sure. On this side, I have 1 going to my fuse panel, which I ended up relocating on the engine block right there. and then I have a starter cable, and then I have another one here for my attachments, you know, accessories. So I think one of these is like the electric fans. I can't remember what this one is. But basically, that's what we're looking at there. So I might just have to make some extensions here, which won't be too bad, but I have enough cable to run it for both positive and negative. So I've given this a lot of thought, and I've decided to go down there where you see those wires coming out of that hole. I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 more. The only reason for that is because since I did the LS swap, I mean, it's hard to see with all the stuff kind of thrown around everywhere, but there's no room. I mean, I can go behind the engine mounts, but then I'm faced with the headers down there. I don't want them getting too damn close and melting off or rubbing off on something. And then I thought about, you know, running them through the top over here, but then you risk as well with the upper control arm. I mean, there's really just not that much room. I mean, the headers are damn near touching that. And then I thought, well, I can run them here in the front. There is some room, but I'm not really sure how that would work out. And I'm also planning to run air ride in the future. So realistically, my only option was to take off the bumper, run them through the frame once again, running air ride. Don't know how that would work out under here, under the frame. It probably could work. I don't know though. I don't know enough to know, so I'm just gonna go with the safe route. I'm gonna go ahead and run them through the firewall, and I'll just leave myself enough slack to where in the future, if I need extra room, I can just pull them out or something. I don't know. We'll see how this plays out in the future. If I need more cable, I need more cable. Big deal. We put one of the Harbor Freight grommets in there, took away the old one, and now we can start running our cable through. So now we're gonna make our own connectors. Basically, you take whatever size cable you have. In this case, we're using the 1020, and so that's 1/2 inch. And as you can see, I won't do it all the way. Maybe I will. Yeah, there we go. It fits on there pretty good. Okay. And then, so once you cut your piece of copper pipe, all you need is a flat face on your anvil. Flatten out like that. This one I gotta cut this one a little smaller anyways because I don't need all of that in there. So I'll probably end up cutting it here when I'm done. The next step is you just punch a hole in the center, right where you want your hole to be. Then you take your drill bit, or whatever you're drilling it to, or whatever you're putting your bolt, whatever bolt you're putting through, in case it's this one, for example. And then you can just drill it. And there we go. It's pretty simple, pretty cheap. You can make a bunch of these, especially considering these cost a shit ton of money. There's your connector. All it is put like a hex bolt in the vise to crimp it down, but it ain't going anywhere. It did move a little bit out of the way though when we did it, so we're just gonna fix that real fast with some electrical tape. You can use heat shrink or whatever you want. I just like electrical tape. It's pretty simple, quick and easy. And there you go, your own connectors. I'm under the truck now. Went ahead and took the starter out just because it'd be easier. But this is the cable we're replacing. Basically, this is the cable that ties into the battery. This is where it gets its main power from. So we'll swap this one out. Back inside the truck, we have our original hole here, which is the biggest grommet I had. But next, I'm gonna drill one right under it. I'm gonna try to get as close as right under as I can, and then one next to it. And that'll be, one hole will be basically for the starter and one will be the ground. So at this point, I've already gone ahead and made my holes. I ended up making a total of 3 holes. So if you can see that, that one's 1, this one's 2, and this is a small one, 3 for just my like electric fans and my other accessories I'm running at the time. I got my engine ground running there. I didn't show this on the video in the beginning, but I actually went to Home Depot and got this cable. It's just like solid copper cable. I ended up buying this for the starter because there's not much room down there. You can't tell already. But basically the plan is right now is I'm gonna run these along the inner fender like this, just zip tie them. Just try to keep it nice and clean and away from the headers as much as possible. It's gonna take some playing around with it, but I'll get it. This is what it looks like. It's zip tied against the inner fender. All of it's kind of just trying to be out of the way. The only cable I didn't get out of the way was this one. It's kind of too short, and I know you might see it's red. It wasn't even long enough then. I originally ordered 7 feet. I would recommend though, if you're gonna do this, get 10 feet of everything if you're gonna run into the extended cab back over there. But I put heat tape there because it's a little closer than I'd like it to be. But it's still, I think it'll still be fine. If not, I'll probably end up wrapping the headers too, just to be on the safe side. But now that almost all of this is done, the only thing now left to do is inside the truck. Stealing all our wires. So it's been a lot since you guys last saw. Only a second for you, but hours for me. I had to make these holes wider to accept the thicker wires, basically the grommets, and I just put the lid on it, drilled the holes, made that, and had to file this out to make the grommet fit. Aside from that, I also ran my frame wire, which is this one right here. That's gonna be that's the negative, and that attaches to the frame. The way I did that was I ran a bolt through one of the existing holes in the frame. I ran a bolt, washer, lock washer, nut, and then this nut, so I can remove this nut if I ever want to remove this wire or add extra wires. Also cleaned it off so it's nice and it's got a good, basically it's a good ground. You can attach more stuff to it, and there it runs. Aside from that, I just basically attached all my wires. I have that little red wire right there. That's from my electric fan power. This black wire right here, that's the starter wire, and this one is the wire that goes into that fuse, which powers the fuse panel. This is all I need for now, I think. So I'm gonna button everything up. I also made an extra hole down here for the vent line in case the battery starts fuming or whatever reason, you know, gets high on its own supply. But I'm gonna make sure the box, everything fits nicely and snug. I might actually end up cutting these grommets and maybe gluing them, like cutting half of it and gluing it to the lid, gluing the top portion to the lid, gluing the bottom portion to the box. Because the way I'm looking at it is this might be too thick to run through there anyways, and those are the thickest grommets I have, so I will let you know what I do. And this is how the battery box turns out. So a little note here, the passenger might not be able to lean the seat all the way back, but it's in there, out of the way. Pretty happy with all the spacing and everything.